Filibustering the For the People Act would be an attack on the working class, but we have options to bring democracy into the 21st century. I am Yoonj Kim, and this is MTV News Need to Know. Since the insurrection on the Capitol, there has been mounting pressure to abolish the filibuster. The filibuster is basically a delaying tactic in the Senate that requires 60 votes to proceed or pass anything, instead of a simple majority of 51. It comes from the French word flibustier, but before you go picturing something that would be sold at Victoria's Secret, the flibustiers were actually pirates who used to hijack the seas. In the 1800s, Americans took up this term to describe the congressional move to block actions by the majority. We know it today as the filibuster, after pirates. Pretty fitting. But in 1888, Republicans abolished the filibuster in the House, and with it gone, were able to pass progressive legislation to rein in big business, help Black college students in the South, and even lay the foundation for the National Park Service. But today, it's Republicans in the Senate who are holding up progress for working Americans by still playing pirate rules. And as this tweet from More Perfect Union points out, the filibuster's legacy is not just enshrining racist laws. For decades, it has made working people poorer, more vulnerable, and politically weaker. This is all coming to a head as 43 states have recently proposed over 200 restrictive voting laws meant to suppress the working class constituencies and people of color. So the only way to save democracy right now is at the federal level with the For the People Act, also known as HR 1 and SR 1. This legislation expands voter access, especially to those in poor and remote areas where people are especially vulnerable to suppression. For example, Georgia shut down many of its polling stations last year, causing huge lines and hours-long waits. Then legislators criminalized passing out food and water to those in line. So imagine living in a rural neighborhood with little access to transportation, only to stand in line past midnight in the rain to vote at an overcrowded site miles away from home. This is an attack on poverty, regardless of political affiliation. But Republicans are the ones behind this, riding Trump's baseless voter fraud claims. And the attack continues, with Georgia Republicans passing the largest rollback of voting rights since Jim Crow, targeting mail voting, early voting, and automatic voter registration on Monday. But even with the blue majority in the Senate, Democrat leaders won't be able to stop laws like these without overcoming the filibuster. And while abolishment has a lot of support, two centrist Democrats, Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona, stand in the way of abolishing it outright, even though its removal is popular in their own states, as Stand Up America reminded. Isn't this the state you represent, Senator Sinema? Poll shows 61% of Arizonans say passing major bills is more important than keeping the filibuster. Even the fundamental reasoning behind filibusters is flawed. In theory, they exist to give a voice for the minority party, but Democrats represent 41 million more people than Republicans, which means the anti-working class already has outsized power as they prioritize the wealthy, mostly white elite. We saw this manifest in the worst way, when not a single Republican voted for the COVID relief bill despite 3 months of government inaction, as working Americans have been struggling to pay rent, feed their kids, and keep their businesses afloat. This outraged many, including political influencer Lee McGowan.
Republicans do not represent their constituents. They represent their own self-interest, their donors, and corporations, in that order.
And in practice, the filibuster politicizes matters of life and death for the average American. As former Kentucky Representative Charles Booker put it, people trying to put food on the table, be safe in their community, or exercise their right to vote don't give a damn about a filibuster. We still have options to make sure regular people have access to political power. Voting rights activist Stacey Abrams proposed that we get rid of filibusters for all voting-related legislation only, which would mean that the Senate could pass the For the People Act with a simple majority instead of a 2/3 vote, which is really how a democracy is supposed to function. And we can keep the pressure on senators to listen to the majority of the country and abolish the filibuster altogether. Either would reinstate the balance of power, where the will of working people struggling to keep America going matters. I'm Yoonj Kim, and that's what you need to know.